Hey, folks. Welcome back to Broker Talk. I'm Larry Lawfer, your host each week, bringing you another episode of real estate professionals talking about best practices, techniques, and tips for professionals. And the consumers. We know we have a number of you out there. In real estate, luxury is defined as a top 10% of your local real estate market. Each market, for this reason, has a different threshold for what price a home becomes luxury. For instance, where my office is, right outside Boston in Newton, Mass., Newton Center, the average price for a new listing is just over $1 million, while the average price for an active listing is over $3 million. In the next couple of days, when the new listings mesh with the active listings, the average price will drop. So that means the luxury price will drop. The price isn't dropping, it's just a comparative thing, 10%. This is true in across the country where the average price is a little over 300. So in that way, luxury is flexible. My guest today is a luxury agent, Josh Tucker from Corcoran HM Properties, servicing the Charlotte and Lake Norman areas around Charlotte. Welcome, Josh. I bet your market near Lake Norman is just as depleted of houses, like all over the country. How's it going today?
Hey, going really well, Larry. Thank you for having me on the show. Yeah, our market here, you mentioned being depleted. Our market is definitely extremely depleted, just like all over the country is. I think our average days on market here are going about 16 days, so well under 30 days of supply, and it's a tough market out there for buyers right now.
It is a tough market for buyers. I mean, up here, things can go in a weekend and often do. And I love the agents that are so braggy about, oh, I just closed this in 3 days and 80,000 over asking. By the way, that's what you're supposed to be doing because that's what the market is. Nothing to brag about there, you know. How about I'm working with three buyers and I got them all houses? That's something to brag about.
You're right. You are right, 100%. Yeah, it's tough out there for buyers. There's no doubt. I have some buyer clients that we've probably wrote 10 offers on, and we're still trying to find them the right one and get an offer accepted. So it's a challenging time, and the more bragging rights are definitely on the buyer side right now than the listing side. That's for sure.
If you're getting things done, for certainly sure. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I always talk on the show. Our audience, who thank you very much for you or listening right now, um, understands that I believe real estate agents are not like what consumers think. Consumers think we're all the same. We are all so different. And you have an interesting background. I mean, you worked for the Roush racing team, which for those of us here in Boston know that John Henry, the owner of the Boston Red Sox, also owns that racing team. Um, but I was thinking about it after talking to you earlier in the week. Your skills at being able to get something done right away, really quickly, be able to deal with harsh environment. That's kind of a unique skill. How does that skill play into what you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, I think it plays into it quite a bit. I think so. You're right. I worked at Roush Fenway Racing for probably 7 or 8 years, um, and enjoyed every minute of that. It was a great experience, and I got to meet and network with a lot of great people. And I think that part of what there's a few things I would say that have translated or helped me, moving from that industry into real estate. One of them, like you said, is the ability to adapt quickly to change or to do things on the fly, make very quick, rash decisions, things like that. The second thing is work ethic. In the NASCAR world, the work ethic, in my opinion, is second to none. It's just it's a constant grind. It's a very, very busy 38 weeks a year. So you're always busy, you're always working, and I carried that over with me as well. And I think that having a strong work ethic in the real estate industry, and especially in a market like this, is extremely important.
Yeah, yeah. If you came into the market when the market was flush, you don't know how hard it is. You
Right.
got to come in when there's absolutely, like in this, if you came in as a buyer's agent, you would know how to hustle. And
Hmm.
yeah, by hustle, I don't mean to give the impression that you have to be a hustler.
Right.
In the sense that falsehood, people read that right away.
Mhm.
Especially luxury people, they people who deal with luxury properties are smart people. They're often very successful people, and when they get mad, they don't yell. They'll call their lawyer, and the lawyer will yell.
Right.
But how is it that you differentiate? Because I'm sure you work with not just luxury people, but how do you differentiate how you market or how you speak to the luxury market versus the other people?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The luxury market for the most part is, very well educated, very successful. So, I mean, I wouldn't say I treat them necessarily differently than I do somebody else. I pride myself in giving the same level of service and the same offerings to everybody, whether it's a $500,000 house or a $5 million house. But there are some key differences in the way that you would communicate with people, in that regard, and even as far as once you have the business, the way you show luxury properties, I think, is way different than the way you might show a listing that's in a more average price point. So a lot of differences, but for the most part, I try to treat them very similar.
I rarely have open houses on my luxury properties. I ask for clients to have individual showings, and
Mhm.
I'm not unusual in that regard here. I don't want to run the risk of having an open house and 100 people through my luxury property unless I had, because the properties are so big and people could be wandering into rooms and opening things. I have a fiduciary responsibility to that, so I much prefer it more controlled, and I know my clients do as well.
Yeah, most of my sellers on the luxury side, they don't. I'm with you. I don't really do open houses on luxury properties. Uh, Even if I wanted to, I think a majority of my sellers would say, "Hey, that's not something that we are open to." We do a lot of broker, like VIP invite only events at my luxury properties. So we'll invite the 50 agents that are nearest the property that have sold like kind properties and things like that, and kind of go all out and have a really nice experience with some music and drinks and appetizers and all that good stuff. But no open houses for the most part where anybody and everybody can show up and walk around and kind of be on their own. We don't do that much here either.
No, no, you really can't. But you do have to know your products. So you're in a non-luxury home. Oh, are these granite? Well, they might be granite, but they might be some special kind of granite, or they might be some new material. Appliances. In regular homes, they could be a good, like Whirlpool, or good middle of the road uh, appliances, but in luxury homes, it's Miele, it's Sub Zero, and
Mhm.
you need to understand the differences in those because in luxury, it's all nice. you know,
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
what do you like? You know, what do
And
you personally want? Do you cook, or do you have staff that cooks?
mhm.
Do you entertain? So does your property have to have that component about it? Or are you just a homebody and you want a great big media room that
Mhm.
has a
Yeah.
lock on the door? I don't know.
Right.
Each luxury is luxury, but each individual person is always different, like the
Right.
agents are. Well,
Yeah.
no two of us are together. We have different negotiating skills. We have different listening skills. We have different sales skills. I,
Hmm.
I try and think that people don't really want to be sold. They want a reason to buy. And I want to come with enough reasons that when they ask the question, I can give them the correct answer that may give them the just what they need to go from there.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And I think that here, we're not we're You mentioned, in the intro, Lake Norman, and I, largely sell at the lake, and we're really selling a lifestyle. So it's a little different, here because we have a lot of people that are coming to the lake for the lake lifestyle. It's a little more laid back. It's a little, um, you know, just different. It's a different vibe and a different feel than what you would get from the city. So we have a lot of people coming here for that lifestyle, to where you're not as much trying to sell the house as you're selling the local lifestyle here. So it's a
Right.
little different in that regard too.
Right. Well, we here in Massachusetts, we have both lakes and oceans
Right.
and rivers, but the lake people, they're a different breed of people up here. They're
Hmm.
often, those houses were built by their grandparents or their great 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 grandparents, and they might be just what was once just a fishing shack now
Hmm.
is $1 million property sitting on, a beautiful lake, but it's still kind of all stripped down. Uh, in North Carolina, it's a little different than it is here in Massachusetts from a tax point of view. One of the reasons why people are going to North Carolina. Could you talk about that for a moment? Second home.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. No, I think that, we do have a lot of people that are coming in from all over the country, and North Carolina is, definitely a state where they're eyeballing for second residences, vacation homes, things like that, whether it's at the North Carolina coast or more inland in the Charlotte and Lake Norman area. Um, One of the tax benefits I hear a lot of my clients talking about that are coming in from out of state, and why they kind of circle North Carolina compared to some other Southeast states, is that we don't have any kind of special assessed taxes for secondary homes or vacation homes. So you pay the same tax rate for property that you own in North Carolina, whether it's your primary residence or a secondary or a vacation house. So, and I know that some of our neighboring states aren't that way. So that certainly draws some people in for sure.
yeah. Our legislature right here, we won't be talking about politics, but it's just something that's going on right now. The legislature wants to, because there's a shortfall and there's a need for affordable homes, they came up with this crazy idea that what they should do is every time a luxury property sells, any property over $2 million, that they should be taxed at a 2% rate on that sale.
Hmm.
And what that's a horrible idea. Yes, you will gain a certain amount of money for the state, but you're um, really hurting the homeowners who are already taxed incredibly high. And we're, as a uh, trade association, we're already fighting that. It's been up 3 times, and each year they bring it up again, hoping that, thinking that, okay, these people have money, so we'll just take some of it. That's
Hmm.
so,
Yeah.
you know, that's uh, taxing a select group of people, homeowners, property owners, for what they have. And
Yeah.
um, anyway, I did dip into politics there, didn't I, a little bit?
That's okay. It's business too. It's all, yeah.
Well, it is business, and it is going to hurt. Just like, and you probably don't have this down there, but they did in New York, they did in Boston, they did Cambridge in particular. They're trying to do it in another town, Somerville. Rent control. The
Hmm.
minute you have rent control, and our rents are astronomical here, way, way, way too high for what it should be, but it is. The minute you rent control, then you throw out all of the builders. They're not going to come in and spend money and upgrade properties and make apartments available if they can't get an affordable, if they can't get the right rent. And when
Right.
you put the top on it like that, um, these politicians who don't do this job don't understand that.
Right. Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
some of them do, but not
Right.
all of them.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of that going on here. Thankfully, we do have some newer, subdivisions and developments and projects that are being done where there is some affordability component that they're being that the developers are being regulated to mandate, and so if it's 100 unit complex, they might be right, or they might be told that they 10% of those have to be affordable. So whether they're for sale or for rent, they have to be, within a certain percentage of a median price. So That's the closest that we really get to that, and kind of, I guess, and it is similar to what you're talking about. But
Well, just 10%. Here, that law is called the 40B law. And what that means is if a developer is going to come in and develop a property, that they can bypass zoning restrictions by promising 25% of their luxury high rise is going to
mm,
be at affordable rates. And,
wow,
they're willing to give up that 25 percent if they're building a unit that has 30, then 25% of that is going to be at an affordable rate.
mm,
Affordable in as it's defined here in Massachusetts is if the average salary, I'm just using it as an example, the average salary is 100,000, then if you are making 79,000, then you fit into what would be called, you can uh, buy an affordable home because you're
right,
making 20% less than what the average person
hmm,
here in Massachusetts is.
sure,
Uh, so many. So what that does is the developers can still go and charge astronomical rates for everything else.
hmm,
And 25%, they're probably on the first floor or in the back of the building without anything. But we do need more affordable homes. We do need to have, there are many, and I want to ask you about what's going on around Lake Norman, but we have to have a certain amount of frontage, on the road. We need to have a certain size lot to build. There's what's called the envelope. The envelope is the house sitting on the property. So how big is the house lot, the house to the lot? And
hmm.
there's percentages to that. Do you have that in North Carolina?
Yeah, we do around, and it's municipality driven, right? So
Yeah.
Lake Norman, where I largely practice, is a large lake. It's got about 520 miles of shoreline, and there's several towns and municipalities around the lake that have governing authorities. And each one's a little different. They'll have, different what we call setbacks. We are also around the lake where, a big thing is what's called impervious land. Um, so if you're close to the lake, it might be 50% impervious area where you can't develop more than 50% of your land in terms of, water has to be able to flow. So you can't, cover it with different types of materials. It has to be impervious materials. So we have some of that. Another big thing that we have, so our lake was built man-made in the 60s, and it's built by Duke Power. So Duke Power largely manages the lake, and they have riparian buffers all the way around the lake. From anywhere from 30 to 50 feet of property line that joins the lake. That's all controlled by Duke, and you're not allowed to make improvements in that area as well. So a lot of different things that come into play when you're looking to build around the lake for sure.
Yeah. Texas has a lot of man-made lakes because
Mm-hmm.
it's very dry and everybody likes to be around the water at some point.
Yep. Yep.
Um, the area I grew up, Bucks County, Pennsylvania, they had an area where they flooded to create a huge lake for the whole community to use. But one of my friends, his family's farm was there, and they
Yeah.
took it by eminent domain, and they got another house. It was nicer, but he always bemoaned the fact that, yeah, I used to live there, and he points to the middle of the lake.
Yeah, very similar story here. So, I mean, our lake was built off the Catawba River, and they flooded all the low land. Anything under 760 feet below sea level was flooded, and 760 feet above sea level remained. And there's old parts of towns and farms and churches and hospitals and all kinds of things that just got flooded, got taken through eminent domain and flooded, and yeah, so there's all kinds of stories that we hear from people that were old enough to remember prior to Lake Norman being around that yeah, there's a old mill village down there, and they point to the middle of the lake, and it's like, wow, that's something to think about. But
I think one of the things I really like about agents is finding out what they're passionate about. And I know that you have a passion that you give back, that it's you care very much about animals, that
Hmm.
you are, I think, the president of the local humane society. Um, Talk a little bit about that. Dogs or cats, which?
Yeah, I'm more of a dog person, but I'm an animal advocate all the way around. If it's if it's an animal and we can save it, we're all about it. So I'm president of the board of directors. So I don't really have any day-to-day responsibilities within Lake Norman Humane, but certainly we from a high level observe the day-to-day. We have a great executive director and staff at Lake Norman Humane that run all the day-to-day stuff. But certainly that's a big passion of mine, and I do everything that I can, and there's a lot of local entrepreneurs here that also sit on that board or that volunteer their time and their efforts to make that a success, and certainly appreciative of everything that we've been able to do as a community, and we save well over 1,000 animals a year. So for me, that's very exciting, and
That
I'm very
is.
humbled to be part of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Um, So, so your passion is the animals and saving them and taking care of them. That is not unique to real estate agents, but giving of our time and our effort, I find that the agents who do that, who realize how it's a tough business. We are rejected on a daily basis. We're told things that aren't true about us on a daily basis, and you kind of just let it slide because really what we care about is the people who aren't idiots and don't lump everybody into one side and actually listen. They appreciate the fact that you bring a passion for them, for their property. um, Luxury people are used to working with high-end people. So if you're not that person, if you're not answering your phone, if it takes more than a day to get a response from your agent, you shouldn't be working with that person, because there's other people who will be right there with you and help you. And that really does differentiate at the top level. Luxury agents really, there aren't a lot of bad ones. There's ones breaking in. So let's talk for a moment about your first $1 million property, because we're both part of luxury home marketing. We both have those designation. So you have to. That's a behind the velvet rope. You have to perform to actually get in this group. So tell me about your first property.
Yeah, so I got into real estate in 2014 was my first year, and I think 2000 took a few years, but 2017 I sold my first property above $1 million. It was 1.1 million, so it wasn't far above a million, but I kind of used that to help catapult me into that level consistently. And it's really what I focus on now is more the luxury side. And you're right. I think the luxury clients, the buyers and sellers on the luxury end, expect and demand a different experience than others. Um, and I think that when you really focus full time on luxury, and that's really your passion, it's easier to give them that experience, because typically when you're focused mostly on luxury real estate, you're selling fewer homes per year,
Right.
and you're really the person going from start to finish. So I think the people that try to maybe or want to break into luxury real estate, um, that maybe have big teams and stuff, I think it's harder for them, because a luxury client, they want to be able to pick up the phone and call me from day one to day close, right? And they don't want to get different people. They don't want to get transaction coordinators or closing coordinators or my assistant, or they want to call me. They want me to answer the phone, and they want me to handle their problem. So, I think it's important for, the luxury side, for that to be an option for your clients, for sure.
So best practice there is when you get that phone number, put it into your phone with their name.
Yeah,
So when that name
right.
comes up, you answer that.
That's right.
I answer it no matter who comes up.
Me too.
And I get so tired of answering the something about my car warranty, or any of the other crap that
Right.
comes over. But we have to answer our phone. Um,
That's right.
And there's a whole bunch of people out there that won't answer the phone, don't call me, don't leave a message, just text me. That's an age group. I understand that, but in the luxury level, it's not how we want to communicate, it's how they want to communicate with us. And
Hmm.
that is the best practice. If they I only have one client that I said, please, let's not do that. They wanted to use Facebook direct message or
Oh,
private
wow.
message. And I'm sorry, I don't. First of all, I'm not on Facebook during the day. It's like starting the day with your brakes on. I'm just not going to do that. But we worked it out. We got them over to uh, Twitter. So
Oh, okay. Well, that's a
you
little
know,
better.
it's a well, I got notices. I mean, I got the notices of somebody of Facebook too, but it was just it didn't work. So I said
Yeah.
that, and we worked through it. But
Yeah.
it's how your client wants to communicate with you. That's
That's
the
right.
way. That's the way. The best way to communicate. I don't
Hmm.
dictate anything to them because I'm working for them.
That's right.
Um, and your real desire is not only to work for them, but work for anybody else that they know who's like that, because everybody in any price point, they have friends, they have people who are looking, the neighbors are watching.
Hmm.
So do the best you can in every single situation that you can. What are
Yeah.
some of the best practices that you've had through the years that you are perfecting?
Best practices in terms of how I manage my clients,
Yeah.
or yeah,
Or get the clients or get the deals closed. Anything.
yeah,
Share
yeah.
something with the audience.
Sure. So I mean, for me, I am a very social person, and I use social media a lot for my business. And I don't know if a lot of people may not call that a best practice, but I think there's best practices on social media that you can follow. So I do get a decent bit of business through social media. I do get a lot of inquiries where people are reaching out to me through direct messenger on Instagram, things like that, and we can kind of start the conversations there. Most of the time, they carry on to text messaging or emailing or something like that. But I get business a lot of different ways. It's not, most of my business is referral business. It's not usually um, from a client to another potential client. A lot of it comes from a wealth manager or a financial consultant, an attorney, a sports manager. We have a lot of professional sports in Charlotte, and a lot of those athletes like to buy at the lake. So we do a decent bit of sports and entertainment stuff. So it's kind of all over the place in terms of best practices and where I get my business from and how I manage it. But a lot of it does come through these third-party vendors like wealth managers, financial consultants. So I really go out of my way to build good relationships with them and do the best that we can there to get that business.
You didn't mention estate planners, but I'm sure that's another group as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
So
Attorneys, so a lot of the times, estate attorneys and things like that will certainly, have that type of business, and we go out of our way to have good relationships with those attorneys and be maybe one of three or four that they'll recommend if they need our services.
so let's show how different our areas are. It snowed here this morning. What temperature is it there?
It's chilly. It's a chilly 56 here today,
Oh,
which is
56.
a little under the normal. I think what's today, Thursday. So on Monday or Sunday here, it was 81 degrees. So we had some
Yeah.
really really nice weather over the weekend and early week, and then now we've got a little bit of a cold spell coming through, but still 56, so manageable.
Yeah. Snow doesn't fall at 56.
No,
But
no, no. We
uh,
haven't had snow in several months, thankfully.
is there anything that I haven't asked you, Josh, that you'd like to talk about for a moment?
um, I wouldn't. No, not. I mean, there's I guess a lot of unique differences about real estate in North Carolina. We probably don't have time today to go into a lot of those, but definitely a conversation for another show that we could get into and maybe discuss some of the differences about buying real estate and selling real estate in North Carolina compared to your state in Massachusetts or even other states. There's some unique differences that sometimes a lot of people find fascinating or get confused on when they're trying to buy here. So
Right.
next time you want to have me on, we can certainly dive into that a little deeper.
I look forward to that. Thanks so much, Josh. It's been a real pleasure to have you with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure. Tune in next week for another great show with another expert. Thanks, Josh, from Corcoran HM Properties. Real pleasure.
Absolutely.
Recording stopped.